Hey guys, Constance here. Welcome back to A Good Life Farm. So I'm bringing you into the kitchen today because I've got something going in the oven, and this is something that Mr. Smith kind of requested. You see, I brought home some bananas the other day and they weren't fully ripened. So I had them sitting on the counter ripening, and Mr. Smith looked at those and goes, "Ooh, what are you going to make with them?" And I said, "Banana bread pancakes." And when I said the banana bread part, his eyes lit up, and then when I said the pancakes, he went, "Oh." So I said, well, there's more than enough bananas, so if you want, I can make you some banana bread too. The banana bread pancakes are actually a low carb. They are paleo friendly and very good, and I like to make them in a big batch and put them in the fridge or the freezer so that when I get up in the mornings I have something healthy that I can have for breakfast. But today I am showing you how I make my banana bread, classic banana bread recipe. So to begin with, I preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and then I chopped up a half a cup of pecans. And after I chopped those pecans, I tossed them into a dry cast iron skillet, and I heated them up over kind of a medium-high heat, and I watched them and stirred them. Well, I tossed them frequently to keep them from scorching, and I basically just toasted the pecans. And you just do that until they are fragrant and are turning just a slightly darker golden brown than they already are, and then you remove them from the heat and you let them cool. Then I mashed up some bananas. I need 1.5 cups of mashed banana for this recipe. And the number of bananas you're going to need is going to be determined by how big your bananas are. If they're kind of a medium-sized banana, you're probably going to need 4 of them. If you've got jumbo-sized bananas like I did today, I only needed 3. So I mashed those up, set those aside, and then I started measuring out my dry ingredients. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I used fine sea salt for this. And 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I just kind of stir those all together with my measuring spoon and just set them aside for a few minutes. And then we start working on the wet ingredients. So in my mixing bowl, I combined 2/3 of a cup of white granulated sugar, a half a cup of brown sugar, two whole eggs plus 1 egg yolk, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a quarter of a cup or a half of a stick of unsalted butter that has been melted and then cooled down a little bit. I just did that part when I was toasting my pecans and just let it sit over there and cool while I was mixing the other ingredients up. So you're going to beat those together until they're nice and creamy. And then you're going to add in your mashed bananas and you're going to mix those as well. Next, I added in half of the dry ingredient mixture and mixed those in. Then I added a third of a cup of sour cream. And finally, the rest of the dry ingredients. Mix those well and make sure you use a rubber scraper or spatula to get all of the ingredients off the sides of the bowl to make sure everything is mixed in really well. So then I prepared a loaf pan, just a standard size loaf pan, and I used my baking spray replacement that I use for all of my traditional baking. I poured all of the banana bread batter into the prepared pan. Kind of smoothed it out on top a little bit. And then I finished it off with a sprinkling of some turbinado sugar. That is a very coarse sugar. It's also called raw sugar or demerara sugar sometimes, depending upon which brand it is you are using. And then into the oven for 30 minutes. Now that isn't all of the baking time, but that is the first of the baking time. When the 30 minutes is finished, I'm going to take the loaf out very carefully, cover it with a tent of foil, and then put it back into the oven for another 40 minutes. This bread bakes for such a long time, about 70 minutes, so you don't want the top of the bread to get too dark. And so tenting it with the foil helps prevent that. Alright you guys, so that is how you make my amazing banana bread. Super delicious. It's the best banana bread recipe. That's what I call it. So if you would like to make it, I have a printable version of it on my website, and I will put a link to it down below. So thanks for joining me here again in the Homestead Kitchen. My name is Constance at A Good Life Farm, and I'll talk to y'all next time.